Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
So good to see everyone live and in person again. You know, it's been a while since we've been able to come together in person. We've been able to hold these via Zoom over the last couple of years, but again, it's good to have everyone here today in person. We're able to see each other, meet and greet each other, and hear about all these wonderful things that are going on here in Morgan County. This is actually, I love this event because it's an opportunity for you to be able to hear from all sectors of the community, the major key holder, major stakeholders, the leaders in the community on various sectors, all in one spot. You know, you can run to this meeting and run to this meeting, but this is one spot where you can get a snippet of what's going on in Morgan County. And I love that, that fact. So again, it's exciting for me also to be able to come and give you updates of what's going on with Morgan County Family Connection, to share highlights from our previous year, as well as to show and share what we're going to be focusing on as we go into our FY23 year, which started actually July 1. I'm actually going into my 11th year here, and so I'm excited that I have gotten traction and that we are really able to move some things forward. You heard me say before, those that are new, so this just a highlight that when people ask what is Morgan County Family Connection, again, I just want to kind of outline some highlights of what's going on here in Morgan County, what the family have been doing. We operate on a, just want to throw this out there, we operate on a $52,500 budget. And that's actually a $2,500 increase from what we've had, the top level that we've had since I've been the coordinator. So the things that we're going to cover, just know we're doing that on a $52,000 budget, and that includes my salary. So you'll see how important it is that we partner to make things happen. There are 159 Family Connection collaboratives in the state of Georgia. There's one in every county, but every county is different because what the counties do is they look at what needs are in their community and they reach out to partners to address those needs. And so every community is different. Every community looks different. That being said, here in Morgan County, the way we decide what we're going to work on is every year we hold an annual strategic planning meeting that is held in January. And this year we held it in, again, January. We had about 25 partners that come together. We look at data, we look at what's going on in the community, and we decide what are we going to focus on? Do we need to change something? Do we need to add anything? We have representatives from nonprofits, youth serving, county, city government, public service, community. And what we do is, again, we break up and we look at the data. And you have some of that data, a one-pager data that you can look at, that we looked at as we were providing, deciding what we're going to work on. It's important to note that everything we do with Family Connection is data-driven. Every service we provide or support, every program we implement, every strategy we develop, is all based on data. And it works good for me because I'm a data person. I love to look at data. It lets me know where we are, where we're going, and how much progress we've made. And so if you look at what's called the Birth 21 Snapshot on your page, this is kind of what one of the things, many tools that we looked at to determine kind of what we're going to focus on. And just a brief outline, if it's in green, it means Morgan County is doing 10% better than the Georgia state rate. If it's red, it means that we're doing 10% worse than the Georgia state rate. And if it's yellow, we're within 10%, whether good or bad. And all that is relative, a lot to say, because it has a lot to do with what you think of the Georgia state rate. No, but that is the kind of the guideline of what this data is based on. So you'll see, and actually with this data is actually a little old, but I wanted to share with you because this is what we built our plan on, part of what we built our plan on. But some of these numbers have changed. So if you look at the low birth weight percentage here in the county, this data was from January 2021. And actually because of COVID, remember a lot of this data was lagging because a lot of organizations were not able to get the data in just because of COVID. So this data is a little bit old. So you see it's 3.4 low birth rate. That has actually increased a little bit now this year to 7.4. Teen births, you see it's 16.8 as it was as of this report. It is actually now 15.6, so that has improved. The child abuse and neglect, you see that's 9.6, which was in the red. It has actually improved as well. It is now 4.1. And I'm getting this data because the kids count data was just released last week. And so that's why I have the newest data. So I'm just letting you know kind of the newest data as well. Child poverty, it was 17.2 as of this, what we were looking at in January. That has increased a little bit to 18.1. Teens not in school and not working, the 16 to 19, that was 12.7, and that has also improved to 6.5 as of last week, the data that came out last week. Parents, children whose parents lack secure employment was 6.5, and it's now improved to 3.9. Then the last three deal with education. Third graders proficient in ELA, it was 49.8, and as of this data in 2021, that now has dropped a little bit to 43.5, according to the kids count data that was released last week. Students graduating on time has increased from 92 to 94.3, and then babies born to moms with less than high school education is 6.6, which is an improvement over what was on our last data report. And so again, we look at this data, but we also ask our partners, bring your current data, because again, this data on this sheet was a little bit outdated because of COVID and the reporting. So we sit down and we talk about what are we going to focus on? What are we seeing in the community? The other page I want to share with you right quick, just before I have my seat and let the others behind me share updates. This is one pager, Community at a Glance, our annual plan at a glance. And this is actually like a 16, 17 page report, but I always like to condense it so you can look at one page and say, this is what we're doing as a collaborative. And just some highlights, as you will see on here, the first column, strategy one, we have 3 strategies that we focus on based upon the data. Our strategy one is children safe and families strong. Just want to highlight a couple of things. The baby bulldog early literacy. We're doing that in partnership with the school system. We're focusing on the children, but because they have a big literacy grant, the L4GA grant, but we're focusing on the children 0 to 5. We're going to be working with kids in the community that are not in school yet, to assess their literacy skills, to be able to give them some activities, parents activities and things to make sure their children are ready to start kindergarten. So we're excited about that. Our First Steps program, it's a program, again, for 0 to 5-year-olds. We screen the parents, make sure they have a primary care physician, make sure they have health insurance. If they do not, we give them a referral. The Parents as Teachers program, and with the First Steps program, we serve over 100 families every year. Parents as Teacher, it's a home-based, evidence-based program. We have 20 families that are enrolled. That program is at full capacity, been at full capacity for the last 3 or 4 years. But it really goes in, our coordinator goes in and makes sure families have what they need. They assess their children, do assessments, give them some resources, again, to make sure their children are ready to start kindergarten. We're excited about the progress we're making there. I'm not going to read all of this, but I do want to highlight a couple of more things. The backpack, back to school rally. We're excited about that. Again, that was held this year in person again. For those that were out there, thank you so much. We had hundreds of children and families to come through to get community resources as well as to get backpacks. We collected over 500 backpacks. And so we were excited to see the kids back out in person, enjoying that day and getting the resources and tools that they need to succeed. So again, if you look at all of this, all of these are not individual programs that came, that Family Connection oversees, but all of these are programs or services that Family Connection partnered with, team up with to make a difference in the community. But I just want to end by saying this before we let everyone else come up and speak. I want to end by saying this, that again, I said, we're not an organization, we're not a nonprofit, we're not an agency. The collaborative is you. All of these people here, all of you, it's you. You are the ones that make this work. We could not do this. Remember, I said we operate and do all of this on a $52,000 budget. We can't do this without you. Your in-kind donations, your expertise, your sponsorships, all make this possible so that we can continue to provide those resources to the community. Again, our mission is to bring together partners to identify needs and help meet those needs in the community. And we've been doing that for 22 years, thanks to you. You are the village that makes this work possible. And I am honored to continue to serve beside you. Thank you so much. We're now gonna have updates from all different sectors of the community. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna ask that you come up as you're listed on the program. Just come up and give your highlights. And at the end, if we have enough time, we'll allow a couple of questions at the end. So we're going to ask now if Adam, you want to come up and give us your updates. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Beldy, thank you for your leadership and your visioning for Family Connections. And thank you to everybody in the crowd today as the collaborators. All right, 52,000, as we know, is not a whole bunch. So it truly is a team effort. And it's because of everybody in this room that makes what Family Connections does in Morgan County special. So thank you, Beldy, for what you do. I'm just going to give a couple of highlights. You'll be hearing from the chairman here in just a few minutes, but hopefully we won't touch on the same things. It is good to be back in person, right? For the last 2 years, we've done this through Zoom, and we've kind of worked our way through the pandemic. Last year, when I spoke virtually, I asked everybody that was on the call in the year ahead to think about the word resilient or resiliency. And I asked and I challenged everybody to think about that or write it down, put it on your desk, your refrigerator, whatever, and think about that word every day through the next year. And so I think today, as we come back, we're in person, we've progressed a long way. I think that's an example of what we are here in Morgan County, is we are a resilient community. We are back. The pandemic is still around us, and I don't think it's going away, but we've learned to adapt, and we've adapted well, and our kids are in school and businesses are doing well and thriving. Of course, a lot of businesses need help with help wanted signs everywhere. So things are going well for our community. And I thank all of y'all for helping us become, be more resilient. And so a couple of things I want to highlight just regard to the budget and some things going on around the county. Our FY22 budget closed out on June the 30th. So we're now on our FY23 budget. Last year, I reported that we were 8% under overall in our budget, which is really good news. And this year, we're even a little bit better than we were last year. We're 9% under overall. And again, that's what we do when we push out to all of our elected officials, our constitutional officers, our employees, and our management team, that, it's the people's money. And so we want to try to make best use of that as much as we can. And so we're 9% under, which is really good. Our sales tax revenues continue to be strong. Again, a lot of jurisdictions around us felt that pain and that push during the pandemic because people were not going to those brick and mortar stores and they were shopping online. And we've got the General Assembly to thank for the Marketplace Facilitator Act, which allows us to collect sales tax on digital goods or Amazon and that type of stuff. And as a result of that, in the last year of people spending in Morgan County, either virtually or in person, we're up 23% in our general sales tax revenues. That would be our combination of our transportation, local option sales tax, our special purpose local option sales tax, and our local option sales tax. 3 of the pennies that we collect here in the county. And then, of course, the school board has a penny as well. So we're 23% over where we were the previous year. Again, so those numbers are strong. It shows that our economy is still continuing to grow here despite what's going on around us. We added $3.2 million to the county's fund balance. Again, we're able to do that because we were able to come in under budget. So our reserves are very strong. We also added $1.5 million to our capital improvement fund. And so over the last couple of years, we've been able to build that fund. So we don't have this idea of deferred maintenance, which the county had for many years, where things were in need of being updated, patrol cars, items around the buildings that we have, 42 buildings here in the county. And so we're able to take that money and take care of much needed repairs. We're getting ready to start a $750,000 renovation over at the courthouse, updating some stuff on the outside of the courthouse that most people may not notice when they look and come to our courthouse, but it's certainly things that need to be addressed. So we've got that coming up. When y'all are done here, since it's been a while since some of y'all have been, when the program concludes, if you want to jump into this back room here, our new meeting room, our Board of Commissioners meeting room, it's right behind us. It's something we created as a result of the pandemic. We used to meet downstairs in a very small, tight room. So we have a more formal boardroom right behind us, and I would encourage y'all just to poke your head in there to take a look. So that's some of the stuff we've done here. And then over at our public safety complex, we're getting ready to undertake a big upgrade there in the jail and some inside items at the public safety complex. Just a couple more things and I'll sit down. Recently, we renegotiated our local options sales tax strategy with all of the jurisdictions, all the cities here. Sometimes that can be a very contentious issue across the state. But I'm happy to say that there was no contention with any of our city partners. We were able to do that very easily. We passed that a month or so ago. And what that means for us, everybody in this room that's a taxpayer, is the local option sales tax allows us to collect a penny of sales tax that directly offsets property taxes for every taxpayer in the county. What that means for us for last year is $4.8 million. So $4.8 million comes back to the county and to the cities to offset property taxes. That's the equivalent of 3.6 mils. So without that, if we were not able to collaborate together and bring that together to accomplish that, there'd have been a 3.6 mil increase on everybody's tax bill. So, so that's money, again, sales and use tax money that comes into the county that helps all of us out. So that was strong work there. And then the last thing I want to touch on is our hotel motel tax. And again, maybe somebody else on the panel may have some information particular to the city. As you know, most of the hotels, motels, B&Bs are located inside the municipal city limits, but we do have some that stretch throughout the county. And so our pre-pandemic numbers, what we collect in hotel motel tax was $51,000. That was back in FY20, so for calendar year 19. And kind of where we are today, post-pandemic, if you will, we've more than doubled that to $104,000. So again, that shows that even through the pandemic, we've persevered, we've been resilient as a community. And so again, a strong work from everybody up here and in this room. And with that, we've got a lot of stuff coming up. Y'all may have looked in the newspaper. We've got a T-SPLOS initiative coming up in November to renew our penny sales tax. So I'd encourage you to attend one of 5 town hall meetings that we'll be hosting over the next month and a half. We also have a recreation measure that's coming up as well. $19 million recreation measure that we're asking the people to give their input on as well. So, and we'll have 5 town hall meetings for that coming up in the next month and a half. So with that, I appreciate you all being here. Thank you for what you do as you collaborate with Family Connections. And I'll turn it over to Dr. Cole.
You want to?
You go ahead.
Sure.
We need a break between you.
Too much county there. Good morning. How are y'all? Everybody doing all right? I just want to thank you for being here. Just to echo what Adam said, we're in a fabulous community, so it's made it really a lot more enjoyable going through all that we've gone through the last 2 or 3 years with COVID. But I also want to thank our board of education, one of our former board members here. But we have a great board that's been very supportive. That's really made it really doable to get through all that we've gone through the last 2 or 3 years. And our community support has been fabulous. So very fortunate about that. So as I start, though, the state of our system really is, I think, very strong. Probably out of the picture here. So back it on up. But we have the highest budget that we've ever had. We have the highest enrollment we've ever had and the highest graduation rate that we've ever had. So all those are good things in a lot of ways, but things that are challenges as well for our system. Our expenditures, our revenues, right? It's a balanced budget this year. So we're just a little bit less than $40 million. And that's our general fund, not FY23 or our sales tax or some of our federal money that we get. We were able to roll back. I think it's the 7th or 8th year that we've done that in a row. So that's really good news for our taxpayers that we did that as well. Our fund balance is probably the highest it's been in a few years. It's about $14 million. So in spite of all that we've gone through, and obviously the state and federal has been very nice in some ways, but they've also cut our money. So we're very fortunate that we've been able to get that fund balance. This past year in our budget, we have provided $2,500 for every employee. Doesn't matter who you are, bus driver, all the way to, assistant superintendent. We have been able to give everybody $2,500. So we felt like that was the right thing to do. That really impacts even more greatly at those jobs that really need it the most. And we're very happy to be able to do that. We were able to make some adjustments to our supplements, our athletic supplements for our administrators as well. And all those are good. We increased our matching funds for our employees. We have most of our staff is under what they call teacher retirement. But we do have a few categories like custodian or bus driver and food nutrition that are under what they call PSERS. It's a different type of system, but we raised the matching funds from like $20 to 6% of their salary. So that's a huge difference for those employees too. We're really trying to supplement and help those employees that need it the most. So again, we're very glad that we could do that. And we've also been setting aside some money for future expenditures. One thing that we need to do is be very strategic as we move forward about knowing that we're going to need certain technology, certain maintenance, all those kind of things, transportation. Those are very big areas that we can't just wait until we need like 10 buses or 5 and then decide where we're going to get that money. So we've been very strategic in our expenditures on that. Enrollment, when 2020, we were about 3,200 students. We're about 3,500 right now. So about 300 students in the last 2 or so years. So that's pretty, significant growth for Morgan to see. This is the highest we've seen probably ever in Morgan County. And we predict that it probably will continue to rise just as, and I think that's, again, a good growth, steady, not too overwhelming would be good, but that's definitely something we're going to have to contend with. I mentioned our graduation rate, it's 94.3. So again, that was the highest ever that we've had. Our end of course testing that we did in the spring, milestones, we beat the state and the RESA, which is our regional area around us. So we're very proud of our scores. I think us being in school certainly made a big difference. A lot of schools around us did as well. But I think our teachers worked very hard throughout all that to make this possible. So very proud of our, teachers and staff for all that. Some of the initiatives that we've been going through is our strategic planning process was a big deal last year. And we were able to get that done. And the basic 3 words we talk about is learn, lead, and thrive. So under those 3 categories or areas, we really are focusing on those to help our, of course, extending learning, helping us lead, not just as a staff, but also for our students, and then thriving, with our community and things and supports that we do as well. Some of the successes we've had, Adam kind of hit on some of these because East Bloss has gone so well. Obviously, that's been very good. The biggest thing that we have to pay for with our East Bloss is paying off our bonds. We got a new high school and middle school. I'm sure all of you know that. So that's a big portion of what we have to pay that money for. But because it's gone so well, we've been able to kind of squirrel away some of that extra money for some what we call pay-as-you-go projects. We just did the track. Thank you to the county. We did the tennis courts. Thank you again to the county and the city as far as their support for all that. So we're able to work collaboratively, I think, and get some things accomplished. But as we move ahead, we're looking at a couple other big projects, one at the stadium, hopefully after football season, what we're going to call the multi-purpose field house, whatever you want to call it, and really renovate and enhance that in a bigger way than we've had. It's been since like 1996 since we've done any work on that facility, and it really needs to be some work. And so we're proud to do some of those things before we get to really dealing with more growth. Some of the challenges we have, I mentioned increasing enrollment. That does present challenges for us as a district to kind of contend with that and with space and traffic. Social media is a big deal for us. Unfortunately, it's something we, I wish we could just wish it away all of a sudden, but it's just something that we contend with. I think it affects all of us in a lot of different ways, but especially the school system, we see how that really affects students and behavior and different things like that, and particularly mental health. That has become a huge focus. Last year, with our board support, we were able to hire a full-time mental health counselor at our district, which is not many districts have done that, but we have the support of our counselors at our school level, but we have somebody that's dedicated solely to that district-wide. And frankly, we could be nice that we could have more, but that one person has made a big difference. We're able to kind of re-engage our mentor group, mentorship in the last week or so. So that's very exciting after we're getting kind of pivoting beyond COVID. But mental health is a big deal. I've heard a lot of anecdotal and just from talking to principals the first couple of weeks of school about some of the anxiety and things that our students are bringing into our classroom. And on top of COVID, it's just made it that much worse. Safety, with the terrible tragedy in Uvalde, that's always first and foremost what we have to focus on, because if we don't do that right, nothing really else matters. And so it's kind of taken a renewed emphasis. Again, not that it wasn't there before, but we have a fabulous relationship with our sheriff's department and our sheriff. And, I really feel comfortable with the relationship that we've got and the deputies they've got at our school. I think that's been a great relationship. We are working even more collaboratively with threat assessment teams and different things that we can do, more training, just to kind of bring, again, that as much enhanced as we can. But as I told our staff at the beginning of the year, we can harden, as they say, our building as much as possible, but it really comes down to relationships and things that we do as a staff and developing those and helping students feel like they belong to something. And so I think that's really a big important thing that we have to do, as well as the other things that we do, again, from just the physical standpoint of our buildings. Another challenge is teacher shortage. We're lucky in Morgan, this is not as big a deal, but statewide, even nationally, you're really seeing some issues with teacher shortages. A lot of systems are having to really work very hard. I saw, I think it was Henry and Brock. I mean, you name it, Metro Atlanta, they're hundreds sometimes short of staff right now, which is very hard when you're already starting school to kind of be in that mode of, hiring. So anyway, we're preparing for the future. I think the one thing that we're doing in the next year or two is looking ahead as much as possible to kind of say, all right, where are we going to be in 5 years, 10 years, and getting our facilities as much as we can ready for that. our staff ready for that. So that's something as a county, I think we're all going to be more and more wrestling with as a county, as we see some of those pressures kind of coming to Morgan that we haven't seen in the past. I think if people throughout the pandemic realize, hey, I can live in Morgan and still have my students in this, great county and school system in this community. So I think you're seeing more of that kind of going on. So very proud, just very, again, appreciative of our board support. Our community is outstanding. We could not have gotten through the last 2 or 3 years without community support and just that stability of consistency. We didn't have a lot of the controversy I think you saw in a lot of other counties where people were just kind of going back and forth. I know we all had different opinions probably, but I think we found a good way working with our governance teams to kind of get through the pandemic. I think says a lot about Morgan County that we did that together, and very proud of it. I think the last time I was in this room right here was at the very beginning of the pandemic, talking about what we were going to do. And, it's just so many unknowns. But again, we have a great support. Appreciate Beldy and the family connections. The backpack thing was another indication. Every time I say like just Morgan, right? We just, the support we have and the community support we have is just incredible. So appreciate all of you guys. And so I appreciate the time, and I'll have a great day. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. You don't know who I am. I'm Ben Ryden, the chair of the commission for the next couple of years. Anyway, wanted to touch on a few topics. Adam obviously covered a few things. I'll go into a little bit more depth. I'm an accountant, so I'll go into some numbers. I like numbers. But first, let me ask, how many of y'all get on Facebook a lot? Yeah, we got a lot of people active in here on Facebook. That's very sad, because there's some good information on Facebook. There's always little strings of truth in there, but then there's a whole bunch of, I won't say what it is. Anyway, just to let y'all know some things that are going on. Our county is in a very strong financial position. We're probably better off financially than we've been in 15 years. Maybe longer. Since before the downturn in 07 and 08, at one time in there, and I wasn't here during that downturn. I'm glad I wasn't, because I know it was stressful. We got our financial director in here, and Laurie's sitting here, and it was very stressful how to pay bills sometimes back then. But we're in a very strong position. We got a $23 million operating budget for 03. We also got a $20 million capital budget, which is total about $43 million budget. A lot of that capital is stuff that Adam's talked about, the renovations that we're going to do. T-Splosh is coming up, and we hope y'all will consider it again. T-Splosh has been a godsend to us as far as roads. When we get state LMIG money, we only get about $700,000 or $800,000. We can only pave about a mile or two of road, or resurface about a mile or two of road with that. With the T-Splosh money for this 2003 year, I think we have budgeted about $6.8 million to resurface roads, and that is the T-Splosh money. And the county is expected over the life of it to collect $18 million total. $12.5 million stays with the county, $5.5 million goes to the cities. So that's a good bit of money going to the cities to do stuff that they need to do in their area for the roads and streets and whatever in those cities. And we're very appreciative that it passed the last time, and it was, like I said, it was really a godsend for us. But with that 6.8 million, we're going to probably be able to pave over 25 miles of roads. So you're looking at if we didn't have that, we'd be paving maybe a couple of miles a year. Well, if we do have it, we can pave 20 or more miles a year sometimes. So it's really important that it's really, because we got a lot of old roads. We got a lot of old county roads in this county that need upgrading and need resurfacing. So we would like for y'all to remember that and consider that when you go and vote in November. The millage rate, our effective millage rate for this year is 10.58. And if y'all know, we took the rollback. So what the rollback means is property values fluctuate. Some property values have gone up some this year overall. So we try to roll back the millage rate a little bit so that we can keep your millage level, so you're not really paying anymore, hopefully. Some people might have a little bit more, some people might have a little bit, pay a little bit less actually. But the prior year millage rate was 10.623. So we actually had a reduction of 0.041 in the millage rate. And that was just for us trying to keep everything flat so that we won't, you know, we want to be sensitive to everybody's pocketbooks, because we know that, you know, inflation is pretty high right now. And we want to try to run the county as efficiently as we can. And I think Adam and his team are doing a good job of that. We watch the money pretty carefully. I'm conservative by nature, so we don't go out and lavishly spend money on things. In fact, when I came in here, I'm an old auditor, so there were things that I ran into when I first came in. I found out that we were probably spending money over here where we shouldn't have been doing this, maybe do a little bit different. And I voiced my opinion, and we made some changes. So we're pretty strict on how we spend our money now. We have we believe, you know, we've looked at, we get SPLOST and T-SPLOST. It's really coming from the same, well, it's two separate pennies, but it's coming from the same type of services. T-SPLOST has a little more restrictions on it. There are 5 more restrictions that mainly relates to fuel. So when we get that penny, we get a little bit more on SPLOST than we do on T-SPLOST. If you ever look to see why are you taking in more? Theoretically, you would think we take in the same amount, but we take in a little bit less on T-SPLOST because there are some things exempted. You wouldn't think fuel would be exempted, because if it's for roads and maintenance, you would think fuel would be included. It doesn't make any sense, but that's the way government works sometimes. Things don't always make sense. As Adam said, there'll be a couple of things coming up for you to consider. I just mentioned the T-SPLOST, also the recreation. I don't get on Facebook. I have people that monitor Facebook for me, and they call me and tell me the stuff that's out there. And there's some stuff out there saying that the county is going to build this thing and spend this 19 million, and where are we going to get the money? Well, we're not going to do anything unless you say to do it. This question, this thing on the recreation question, it's your decision. If more than, it's a straw ballot, so to speak, public opinion. What do you want? Do you want to build it, or do you not want to build it? If more than 50% people of the voters want it, we'll try to find a way to do it. We have enough resources with, you know, we can use local funds from different areas we get revenue from. Most of our revenues come from property tax and sales tax. That's true, right? I'm looking at Laurie, she's back here. And so, you know, we could use some of those funds. We could use grants. We could use donations. We considered putting the question out there as a GO bond question for everybody. Now, GO bond question is just up or down. If you vote yes, 50.1 votes yes, 50 plus 1 votes yes. We would have to do it. We'd be obligated to do it, but we would have to issue GO bonds, and we would have to raise the millage, because GO bonds have to have a dedicated revenue stream to pay for them. You'd have to have millage tied directly to those GO bonds. And that could have been a couple of mills. So we didn't want to do that. We wanted the people to say, what do y'all want? Plus then we have more flexibility this way. So if you all decide now, if, like I said, if you read what's out there, some people are saying that, hey, look, the county's going to do this. The county's not going to do anything there unless you say do it, unless the people say do it. And then we'll have to look at how to fund it when that point comes. But the county is in a great financial position. We have very little debt. Laura, we owe about less than $1 million to pay off our long-term debt. That's tremendous. We're in a great position financially, and and we've got adequate reserves. By regulation, we're not supposed to be, you know, have way too many reserves, but we have adequate reserves. Our budget did increase this year by about 7 or 8% total, but a lot of that with capital outlay needs, because we had a lot of deferred maintenance that we're catching up on. We got a lot of deferred maintenance. We had to buy some vehicles for our different departments. We run vehicles, we'll run them to death. The sheriff will probably tell you. We ask them to put about 200,000 miles on one, then we don't want to do it until the engine hits the ground. But every now and then, we'll have to go ahead and replace it. But we've got some older, fire engines that are going to be needing replacing. Our fire engines in most of our stations are 2004, 2005. Now, those engines don't have a lot of miles on them, but just when things get old, they just start tearing it. So over the next few years, we'll be having to replace some of those fire engines, and we're starting to do about one a year. That's what we're trying to do. But anyway, everything's going well. Hopefully, if you have any questions after this is over, feel free to ask. We'll try to answer anything we can. I guess the elephant in the room is Rivian.
Yeah.
Nobody's mentioned that yet. So I'll mention it to say there's a lot of information out there about it too. There are some factual things out there. There's some factual, and there's a whole lot of misinformation that's out there. So if anybody has any questions about all that, ask us. We'll tell you what we know. The problem is this is a state project. It's not a county project. It's a state. The state wanted this project. They bought the land. It's not us. We don't have any control over what they do. We can have input through, they've given us some areas to make input through committees and stuff like that, and to allow our planning and zoning to review some things to make sure they're hopefully meeting all the regs they're supposed to meet as far as water and environmental and stuff like that. But we don't have any direct control over what's going on there. This is like I said, this is a state project, and it's kind of administered by the JDA. And we're just kind of along for the ride, and hopefully things will work out. Like I said, I'm a finance guy. I've seen the numbers on Rivian's financials. I know what they look like. They don't look good, but they got a lot of capital, and they can. And we got a banker here, a couple of bankers here, and they can tell you if you got a balance sheet that's got a strong capital position, you can survive a while until you're making money. If you got enough people putting in a capital position. So we'll see how all that goes, but just be careful of what you read and how much you take from it, because in anything, whether it be about that Rivian project, or whether it be about other things in the county, whether it be about this recreation facility or whatever. If you have questions, ask us. We'll answer whatever we can. So I appreciate y'all being here. I appreciate everything the Family Connections does for the county. And I want to thank you, and I'm done.
Good morning. Let me just thank Ms. Alvin for what she do for our community. She said she do what she does on a $52,000 budget a year. I'm gonna have her to come talk to our city about budget. She does amazing things, and she knows how to bring our community together. I don't know if you know it, but because of Family Connection, Madison is in a much better place. And so many wonderful things are being done because of the connection that Family Connection have. And Dr. Hardy, Ms. Hardy, thank you so much. And let me just also say that it's good to be a part of a city that has good connection with our Board of Education, county representatives, and business as a whole. And when we see bankers in the room, that let us know that we're doing well. But Madison continues to strive. We're not as big as the county, but we try to make Madison the place in which all of you enjoy living. We've come a long ways, and we still have a long ways to go, but I'm just excited to say during the last 2 years of pandemic that Madison didn't lose any employees. So we were fortunate to keep our employees during pandemic. I always say I have 3 council members here this morning. I have a good team to work with, and because of the team that we have, we try to make Madison the place that you like to live in. As most of you know, a lot of activities went on in our city park this summer. Kids enjoy it, adults enjoy it, and this is what Madison likes to do. But just a few points, talking about transportation. Transportation is when you ride on our city streets, you will probably see that a lot of work is being done. A lot of streets are being paved, just to name a few that's being resurfaced. Cooks Hill, Jasper Street, Meadow Ridge Drive, Park Street, Pearl Street, Surgrave Drive. And our sidewalks continue to be repaired so we can make it safe as you walk downtown and walk on our sidewalks. Our housing, our city just recently approved a second family style townhouse development. As most of you know, we talk about affordable homes in our community. And if we don't have affordable homes, our people have nowhere to live. So we just, I said, recently approved the Carmichael Common. It's going to be sort of to help people with income that's not as much as other incomes are. And we try to look into the community and look into this housing facility to be able to afford homes for our firemen, educators, our community. A great space, we have installed a new neighborhood playground at Lambert Park with designs underway for a modern dog park at the Hill Park. The Hill Park restaurants are considered and will be done hopefully early next year. That's already also out for bids. In our businesses, a lot of work is still going on the corridor. You see Starbucks is making some changes out there. And hopefully they're going to be opening that door soon, talking about the gateway for the city of Madison, Adrian's, which will soon be Martha's favorite. Hopefully will be opening in late September. So we welcome that as well. Culture here in our city will build on the success of Jefferson Street Little Free Art Gallery. A second is set to be installed at the entrance of Bold Spring Park. The Art Where We Live initiative, a lease program is just at work. Infrastructure, as most of you know, that our city hall is being reconstructed. We're spending about $2 million on city hall to bring it back to its original. And we hope that you get a chance to come and see this city hall when our doors are open. We try to invest back into our city with the Teach Plus funds that we receive, the tax funds that we receive, to let you know that your tax money is certainly at work. And also Madison has dedicated 10% of its American Rescue Plan funds by supporting local nonprofits organizations. And during the pandemic, as most of you know, a lot of people's probably lost funds, couldn't help themselves, couldn't afford certain things. But I'm happy to say that we was able to help with clothing, food, and shelter. And the city of Madison has also partnered with our Boys and Girls Club to make the Old Pearl High, Morgan County Middle School campus a campus in which we can all be proud of. The GMC college is there, and our food pantry also works off of that campus. And great things is still considered to go forward at that campus. And it's going to be good for our boys and girls. And we thank our Boys and Club director for what they do. And Madison, as I said earlier, is a better place because of the partnership that we have. I think Mr. Rod said earlier that they have the tax rollback. The city certainly has a rollback on his taxes as well. And most times people ask, what are you doing? What is the city doing without taxing it? And as most of you know, it costs a lot of money. Board of Education can tell you, our county can tell you, our city can tell you, it takes a lot of money to run a city, a county. and the school system, but with the collaboration that we have with those in our community. And as we partner together, we can continue to make the best better for our community in which we live. I'm proud of Madison, and I hope that you are too. And our healthcare, our hospital, we're fortunate to have a hospital in our community. Somebody told me the other day, they went to the hospital, they was able to get in without any problems. And they said, I am so glad that we have this hospital in our community. But we are happy and excited to have all the partnership that we have in our community, because it makes us proud and it makes our community a better place in which to live. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, for those final comments. I'm Ralph, hospital administrator. I have a few comments to share with you this morning. Our local community hospital, your local community hospital, is here for you. We are here for you, and the hospital authority is all in for the future of healthcare in this community. Now, that may sound a bit trite, but what do I really mean by that? Well, let me tell you. Do you know that we did 320 MRIs in the fiscal year just ended, 30 June 2022? Did you know that we have a brand new CT scanner? It is a GE Maximum 64. With this new machine, one of the tests we are now able to perform is cardiac calcium scoring testing in order to determine the risk of a heart attack. This new machine also has dose reduction software that allows us to consistently image up to 82% less radiation to the patient. Did you know we do nuclear stress testing? A nuclear stress test uses a small amount of radioactive tracer that shows blood flow to your heart. This test measures blood flow while the patient is both at rest and during activity, showing areas with poor blood flow or damage to the heart. It is used to help the physician, your physician, determine your risk of a heart attack or other cardiac event if you have coronary artery disease. These tests are always read by a cardiologist. Did you know that we have processed 8,000 COVID tests with positivity rate of about 21%? Did you know that in fiscal year just ended 30 June, COVID inpatient day volume was just over 1,100 patient days, which is more than double the 513 patient days from fiscal 2021. Unfortunately, we have had 4 COVID inpatient deaths since the beginning of the pandemic. Unlike hospitals elsewhere in the country, however, we were able to ensure that the patient did not die alone and that the family had all the access to their loved one that they needed or wanted to have. Did you know that we saw over 10,000 patients in the ER last year? Of that number, 2,335 were children 17 years of age or younger. Did you know that all the physicians in the emergency department are either board certified in emergency medicine or have extensive emergency medicine training or have decades of emergency medicine experience? Did you know that in the last full fiscal year at Morgan Memorial Hospital, fiscal 2018, surgical services performed 101 procedures, and they were all gastroenterology procedures, endoscopies. In fiscal 2022, 468 surgical procedures were performed at Morgan Medical Center. 468. Just half were endoscopies. The other half were plastic surgeries, podiatry surgeries, gynecological surgeries, urological surgeries, and anesthesia pain procedures. And those 468 surgical procedures were an increase over the 351 procedures we did in fiscal 2021. Mind you, several times during COVID surges, we closed the operating for a time. Did you know we added a gynecologist to the medical staff last year? He works for us on a part-time basis and sees patients at Morgan Physician Services. His name is Marty Gallo, and there is a good chance that sometime next year, He will join us on a full-time basis. Can you imagine what that means to this community? To have a full-time gynecologist practicing in Morgan County? Did you know we hired a full-time general surgeon? He is a Georgia native, Sandersville. Did his pre-med at UGA in Athens. That makes lots of y'all's happy. Did med school at Mercer in Macon, and is coming to us from Cleveland Clinic Union Hospital in Ohio, part of the Cleveland Clinic system. An employee at Cleveland Clinic. He and his wife bought a house here in Madison last month. And they and their 3 boys will be joining the community very soon. Tia, you are not getting his name. You will, but not today. Not at Rotary either.
He's gonna tell me first, Ian.
No. I am purposely not disclosing his name at this point, but we will in time. Where I. And all that will happen in the next few weeks. So you'll get it. Just to put it in perspective of the enormity of that achievement. There has not been a general surgeon practicing full-time in Morgan County since the 1980s. One more thing about the general surgeon. The cost of his practice in the first year and just about every year following will be about $500,000. Why do you think we want to sell the old hospital property? Lastly, a community needs assessment was performed this past month. As prescribed, this thing said something, as prescribed by federal law. The assessment identified the following items: lifestyle and obesity. Morgan County residents have high incident rates of obesity, diabetes, and smoking as compared to statewide data, and report less access to physical activity opportunities. Access to care. Morgan County residents experience more limitations with access to care due to shortages of primary care and mental health professionals in the community and limited transportation options. Mental health. Morgan County has a high proportion of adults reporting poor mental health as a chronic condition, and the mental health provider ratio is lower than the state average. Senior health. The population of Morgan County is older than the state average, is expected to continue growing more rapidly than other sectors, and therefore creates an increasing need for healthcare services. We plan to address these identified issues as follows. Lifestyle and obesity. We will provide Morgan County residents, both the community at large and at-risk populations, with information, tools, and support to live a healthier life. We have an active education department that routinely offers programs, and we are working on developing more robust offerings and for better dissemination of that information. Access to care. We will improve access to care in Morgan County through expanding telemedicine services and specialty providers, promoting financial assistance opportunities, and increasing awareness and use of transportation office. Currently, both cardiology and pulmonology, focusing on critical care management and respiratory management, are two telemedicine specialties currently at Morgan. We have also added a certified wound care nurse to the staff, and with the addition of a full-time general surgeon, we will have the capacity for a good program. And we continue to work on adding doctors to the medical staff. We also have a financial assistance program that patients have access to. Under mental health, we will work to expand the capacity for providing mental health services for Morgan County residents by providing education and training for staff, caregivers, and first responders, as well as continued support through partnerships and financial resources and inpatient treatment. This particular item, mental health, shows up in some form or fashion whenever we do these kinds of assessments. This one is tough because there's not a consistent or reliable form of funding that we have found. However, internal education is more focused on this subject, and we are looking for ways to better serve the community A targeted program could be a viable use of the 1077 South Main campus. Senior health. We will provide Morgan County senior citizens with actionable health-focused education, particularly focusing on locations where the need is great and transportation challenges exist. This focus will require the building of partnerships and infrastructure and further research and education regarding economic viability and the needs of the medical center. These 4 challenges, coupled with normal operations, present real opportunities for us to better serve the community. But like everything else in running a business, things take time and the willingness to devote money and resources. Why do you think we need to sell the old hospital property? Before I close, I want to extend a promise to you. Every day, we strive to be a patient-focused center of excellence. That is our vision statement, what I expect out of every single employee in that building. Patient-focused center of excellence means every employee, whether you are a clinician or not, is responsible for the patient. It is the pursuit of excellence in everything we do, Now, as a small rural hospital, there are things we don't do and probably never will. However, we offer many new and improved services, like some of the things I just talked about. So the next time your doctor wants you to have blood work, or an x-ray, or physical therapy, or some other procedure, tell them to send the order to Morgan Medical Center. Why leave the county if you don't have to? Just like the mayor said, great place. It is your right to go where you want to go for testing. Now, your insurance company will tell you otherwise, but it is your right to go where you want to go for testing. Tell your doctor you want to go to your local community hospital. It is your right to go where you want to go. On behalf of the hospital authority and the staff of Morgan Medical Center, we thank you for the opportunity to participate this day. The state of healthcare in Morgan County is solid and getting better. Thank you for your attention. You also have a great day.
Good morning. I'm Bill Ashburn, Police Chief here in Madison. Ben and Ralph both went way over their 5 minutes, so I'll keep it short. One big change that we have seen in Madison that hasn't been mentioned, and that's a new city manager. That is important to public safety because we rely on our city manager as our leader and our boss to help us along with our needs. And I will say David Nunn was an excellent city manager as far as I'm concerned. He was a great boss to work for. Our needs were met, and I appreciate everything he did as a friend and as a boss. And I thank David Nunn for all he did. On the other side, we have a new city manager, Mr. John Clem, who's not with us this morning. It's always apprehension when something new happens, and as a city employee, you know, there was a little apprehension on my part as far as mayor and council selection. I've been around Mr. Clem, and I think he's going to be a wonderful fit for Madison. I did my research and called the former police chief where he was a city manager before and spoke with him, and he had nothing but wonderful things to say about him. So looking forward to working with our new city manager. Almost 10 years I've been police chief now. It seems like every time I've been up here, personnel is a hot topic because we have a hard time still finding police officers. We've, as a rule, been about 2 police officers short since I've been here. We're not lowering our standards just to hire people. We're going to try to hire good qualified people. The council, mayor and council, and David Nunn and Mr. Clem as our leader from this point forward is very positive on public safety, and we're going to be working on areas to try to improve our recruiting. Our retention is good. We've got good officers here that some have been here, you know, maybe 2 or 3 years, but we have some that's been here from 15 to 25 years. So Retention hasn't been a terrible problem, but we've just had a hard time recruiting. We are looking at even adding some police officers. We're probably 15 years ago, we still had 2 police officers per shift. We still have 2 police officers per shift. So we're seeing some areas in our community, more housing developments, more businesses are coming. So the need for more police officers is certainly there. The city is not opposed to it. It's just a matter of us figuring out how to do it. We do have the new school systems. I just got back from our chief's conference, and one of the big things was, school violence. And a big mistake agencies make is not being prepared and saying it's not going to happen in our community. I've already taken all my officers out to the new school. We've gotten a tour from our sheriff's department. They're officers who work at the school. We've been through each and every school to familiarize ourselves with the layout. So God forbid if something does happen, we don't want to be caught shorthanded, and we'll be there to do our job. Our relationship continues great with the sheriff's department. If it wasn't for them, don't know what we'd do, because if I hear a call go out for our officers, there's a sheriff's deputy. If he's close, he's coming. And that's how it's got to be in a small community. I appreciate everything the city does for us. We have all our needs met. They keep us in good equipment. And when I ask for things and they know it's a need, then they take care of us, which takes care of our community. Thank you. I appreciate it.
All right, before I get started, well, first of all, I'm Sheriff Robert Markley. I'm in my 22nd year as sheriff of Morgan County. I'm in my 32nd year in the sheriff's department. So, but before I get started and go too far, I want to recognize 2 of my employees that are sitting here. Captain Derek Reed, who manages our jail, and my admin assistant, Stephanie Whitley, that's here. They're here for a reason. And we found that during COVID, everybody was wearing masks. So when I couldn't see people cringing when I started talking. So I'm watching both of them on both sides of the room. If they start cringing, I might change the subject real quick. Yeah, I want to echo a little bit of what's been said here. Government, and it works best when we have our partnerships and our relationships with all the other organizations that are out there. And I got to tell you, I've been very fortunate to have great relationships formed over the years. City of Madison's been a great partner with us. Our county commissioners, through our chairman and through our county manager, they've been very supportive of our folks and made sure that our folks are recognized and also appreciated for what they do every day. Our relationship with the school system, listen, it's great. We're in the schools, we're working hard to keep the kids safe. And we're doing a lot of innovative things that I think that other communities should take a look at and take advantage of. Even our hospital system, listen, we were in the hospital system the other day doing a drill, which is, that's kind of unheard of with different hospitals that the law enforcement actually is invited in to drill the facility and make sure that if there's, God forbid, an incident that happens, we're prepared for it. So y'all, I've been very honored to represent the Morgan County Sheriff's Department over the years. Currently, we have 61 full-time employees. We have 32 deputies, 26 jailers, 3 admin staff. We have 14 reserve officers that donate their time. One of those reserve officers goes around the community and teaches active shooter drills and telling businesses on how to react if something ever starts happening in their business. Our sheriff's office is made up of many different divisions: the field operations, patrol, investigations, courts, schools. We got 1 training officer. Again, I said we had 14 reserve officers. We have our detention center. That probably is the hardest job at the Morgan County Sheriff's Office. I mean, we talk about what the road officers go through every day, but I'm telling you, the detention center is a tiger by the tail. We're dealing with mental health problems down there. Probably, if you go and look at the different communities and you find out where the #1 mental health provider is in these big cities is the jails. And unfortunately, we're in kind of a same situation. You know, we get people that do crimes out in the communities, and when you boil it down, it comes back to mental health problems. And that's very difficult for our jail staff to deal with, but they do a great job, and I'm very appreciative. And again, I wanted to recognize Captain Reed for the job he does down there. We've got again, our hiring process at the Morgan County Jail. We go through interviews, physical agility test, integrity test, psychological test. You know, wondering, well, how I got by it, I don't know. But in a pretty extensive background check. Our attrition rate is, in the last 24 months, has been outstanding compared to what we dealt with in years past. But that's because, again, of the partnerships with our county commissioners and county manager's office, and the staff of the county manager's office has made it a priority again to make sure our people feel appreciated. And I think that's why our attrition rate is so low. Currently our budget at the Morgan County Sheriff's Department for FY23 is $5.623 million. Our personnel out of that is $4,324,000 and change. Our operations cost is $1,298,000. So what I'm trying to get across there is that majority of our budget goes towards our salary of our officers and what we're trying to accomplish. This year, the county got a 6% COLA increase. We've also worked hard on getting a longevity pay. So we have 5 steps of our longevity, and we're working with programs with our county commissioners dealing with the health insurance and many other programs that we've got going. Just want to highlight a few of the programs that are new for the new budget year. We are putting up what we call crime cameras in different areas of the community that are in areas that we over the years have had crimes being committed close to our exits on the interstate. Our convenience stores are constantly being hit by folks that are coming through and smashing, grabbing, and getting out of the county. Well, these crime computers, our crime cameras that we're putting up, will actually capture the tags, and it will be something we can go back and deal with, and investigative tool to hopefully curb some of that crime. Some of our neighborhoods throughout the community have already installed some of these LPR cameras, and we have solved some entering autos based upon those cameras, and they've been a great tool. The Family Protection Center, we partnered with the Family Protection Center to bring a center here to Morgan County that actually does sexual assault exams and child abuse exams and interviews. That's an important product, and it's been greatly used so far. And unfortunately, it has to be used, but it keeps our folks in the county. It keeps our victims from suffering, having to go out to Macon or to Atlanta or wherever else to be interviewed. We can do that in our community, and that's an important program. Again, y'all, I just want to tell y'all thank you so much, and for the support y'all shown the sheriff's office and the relationships y'all formed with us. We appreciate it. And I think I'm finished, and I've made it through without those 2 cringing, so I feel good. Thank y'all very much.
All right, we do thank everyone again for all the great information you all have shared with us today. I kept hearing over and over again the importance of partnership, collaboration. I kept hearing over and over again here in Morgan County, things are solid, things are strong. So I'm thanking you all for all the support you have given us and all these different organizations in order to be able to make that statement today. So thank you all so much for being here. We do have time for 1 or 2 questions. So if you have a question that you would like to ask any one of our panelists, you may do it at this time. If it's a question that probably going to take a little bit more time and explanation, just ask that you may get with them after we close down so you can have some more one-on-one time. Sonia.
Just for law enforcement, questions regarding Crime involving children, crime against children, numbers around that, or if you have any numbers related to crimes committed by children, meaning 17 years.
I don't have any of the numbers that I can give you right now. I can tell you that we do have, I would say quite a bit of petty crimes that are committed by juveniles that are 17 and under to deal with. Again, partnerships with the juvenile justice, working with them to address those crimes and make sure that those are held accountable. They have their own court system that they deal with and their own probation department that they deal with. So that's a entity unto itself. We have to navigate the rules of that room. But as far as the dealing with crimes, I don't have those available right now, but I can get them. And the victims of different crimes, child abuse, sexual abuse, stuff like that. Again, I think that bears out with our usage of the family protection center. And we've got other counties coming in using it, but fortunately it's here. We can use it. Unfortunately, we have to use it, and we made several trips on North in the last month or so.
One of my younger officers who was computer savvy and all that, actually just last week, I thought it was a good idea to put on social media, just some of the statistics that the Madison Police Department is doing each week. I think juvenile crime is one of those statistics that if you look on Madison Police Department on Facebook, you can see, the kind of the call we get called to, and there's not going to be any details about people's addresses and telephone numbers and names and stuff like that, but just kind of the types of calls that we respond to each week, and that'll give you an idea of kind of what our officers are doing. But pretty sure juvenile arrest is also included in that.
Okay, Dr. Babs?
There was a program that I've read about and also seen photos about, a diversionary program in Morgan County for people who are like alcoholics. Rather than putting them through the system and putting them in jail, that there's a program. Do we still have that? Is that still going on?
I think you're speaking of the drug court program and the mental health program. And even the child court. And there's a bunch of different courts that we're dealing with. Yes, it's a strong program. Yes, it was supported heavily by the state. For obvious reasons, they want to divert people out of the state system and back on the road. So some of the drug crimes are being addressed more so in the drug court, dealing with constant testing, making sure they have a job, life training, doing different things like that. So there is a lot of programs that are being offered that in years past haven't been offered. I think it's important. Those continue, because we are seeing some success, and not everyone's a success, but there has been some success. To make it all worthwhile, it's a few good successes. So.
Okay, glad you made that.
Quisha?
It's more of a two-part question. The first question would be if we could get the information maybe about the active shooter drills to maybe come look at the center, who would I need to contact for that?
Great question, and a great person to be in the room, but Stephanie back there can point us out, and we can put different groups on the schedule for our speaker to come talk to them, our reserve officer, who does an outstanding job talking to them. Matter of fact, he spoke to all the.
His work at Burley organization, if you haven't heard of him, he's outstanding.
Yeah. Great. Contacting Stephanie Whitley at 342-706-342-1507. And she can get us on the schedule.
My next question is, I had the privilege or the opportunity to look at the little art gallery that is so beautiful. I let my children put me. Okay. Well, my next question is, who would we be in contact with for maybe doing a little library?
The library system?
Yeah, like the little art galleries, they're able to like put the artwork in and take it out. I did see, it's like a little library in Rutledge with like a little box and people.
Like for
put
the books,
yeah.
not the.
Yeah, so who would we contact about doing one of those?
Library system. I honestly don't. I would check with, I can't think of the guy's name, but who's that? Colby, at our library right there by the school system.
Also, Karen Wybell at the artist guild, American Artist Guild, she is interested in that too, so you can check with her.
Okay.
Thank you. Great questions. Anyone else? Okay, again, thank you all so much for being here. We do have still some refreshments, so please make sure you grab some before you go. And again, thank to all of our panelists. Until we see you all next